Divine Constitution for Moorish America. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of Moorish America are empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of Moorish America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the citizens of Moorish America. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly, according to the Circle 7, and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended into his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all citizens of Moorish America. No citizen is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister because Allah is love. All citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government because by being Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. No organization of Moorish America is to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. With us, all citizens must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and that they are not Negroes, colored folk, Black people, or Ethiopian, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted into 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. All citizens must properly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of uplifting acts of Moorish America. Moorish Americans must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of Moorish America, and then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector. Allah is my guide and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet Ali, Noble Jew Ali. Amen. So that's why I was telling you about the industrious part. That's the key, is making sure, if you don't know what the word industrious means, Brother Ties, is just simply you're generating. You got your own business. You're in industry. You're a merchant. And we was all merchants in ancient time. When you look up the Silk Road, that was something that we was had going on as Moors. It was a trading route from here to Hindustan or Manchuria. And so bare minimum, us as a people need to be industrious and then organize and protect the industriousness and expand, and then attach the divine laws and our holy books to what we're doing. Now you got a jurisdiction that's protected under the First Amendment, and international law, treaties, rights of indigenous people. You just become an honor. All right. To be proclaimed in every meeting from the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Jew Ali. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me in the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim it was a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the governments of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend on for their earthly salvation as an American citizen, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that contribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your Moorish divine movement. I need finance and I need it bad. Never before have I needed finance as badly as I do at present, that I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being the head. It has been proven by my work, in which I have performed in the past few months, because I was at the governor's inauguration to represent the Moorish Divine National Movement, and I will be at the inauguration of President Hoover for the same. So, once again, Brother Taz, for perspective purposes, this, as you can see, was January 18, 1929. Noble Drew Ali transitioned that same year. As you see, he mentioned J. Edgar Hoover and the governor's inauguration. So if he was attending these things, that means it was well known he was an ambassador for our people. And same thing with the governor's inauguration. That means he was involved in politics. He was going to the city halls, letting the foreigner know of our political status and the fact that, you know, he personally unified the people in government structure by bringing attention to the fact of our nationality, that we're not black, Negro, color, the holy books that he, you know, Circle 7 Quran, which lays a foundation for principles, our divine principles of our ancestors, you know, dealing with, once again, government structure, character, and being amongst the affairs of men, which means when you study, or even right now today, when you analyze other nationalities on the planet, you see how they move together compared to our people. You know, they got businesses, they don't really have too much pride as we do. They have no problem working together because they know that's the first priority. So he brought that back to the table. So I just wanted to explain that for context purposes. Any questions on that? Any questions on that before I transition to the Holy Quran? Everybody good? All right. So transitioning from where we left off, we are now on chapter 14 of the Circle 7 Holy Quran, dealing with John Harbinger returns to Hebron, lives as a hermit in the wilds, visits Jerusalem, and speaks with the people. Now, I want to say, every time I hear hermit, I think about the 7 hermetic principles. So once again, most of us, I would imagine, know about that. I don't know if you do, brother Terry.
No, I don't.
So I would just jot down the 7 hermetic principles and just, you know, check it out. And then you'll see where I'm coming from.
Okay.
The root word of hermetic is hermit.
Medic.
Yeah. So just add an IC to that. All right. So it came to pass when John, the son of Zacharias, and Elizabeth had finished all his studies in the Egyptian schools, he returned to Hebron, where he abode for certain days. And then he sought the wilderness and made his home in David's cave, where many years before he was instructed by the Egyptian sage. Some people called him hermit in Jedi. Now, I know y'all heard of Jedi Minds and Return of the Jedi,
Yeah, I heard about
Star
that.
Wars. So we're dealing with Jedi, Magi, High Priest, Illuminated One. All right. And others said, he is the wild man of the hills. He clothed himself with skins of beasts. His food was carobs, honeys, nuts, and fruits. When John was 30 years of age, he went into Jerusalem, and in the marketplace he sat in silence for 7 days. The common people and the priests, the scribes and the Pharisees came out in multitudes to see the silent hermit of the hills. But none were bold enough to ask him who he was. But his silent past was done. He stood forth in the midst of all and said, behold, the king has come. The prophets told him, the wise men long have looked for him. Prepare, O Israel, prepare to meet your king. And that was all he said. And then he disappeared, and no one knew where he had gone. And there was great unrest through all Jerusalem. The rulers heard the story of the hermit of the hills, and they sent carriers forth to talk with him, that they might know about the coming king. But they could not find him. They could find him not. And after certain days, he came again into the marketplace, and all the city came to hear him speak. He said, be not disturbed, you rulers of the state. The coming king is no antagonist. He seeks no place on any earthly throne. All right. He comes, the Prince of Peace, the King of righteousness and love. His kingdom is within the soul. So the kingdom is within. The kingdom is within. The eyes of men shall see not, and none can enter but the pure heart. So we're talking metaphysics. We're talking activation level based on where you're at emotionally, comprehension wise. You're going to ascend. When you're ready to receive information, you're going to receive it, because you might have heard this same information that we've been going over 3 years ago, and it might have went over your head because you weren't personally ready. Back to the hermit. A hermit is a person that meditates. A hermit is a person that's activating the pineal based on mastering the prerequisite chakras such as the root, the loins. And you graduate to activating that heart chakra, becoming a humanitarian. So now your decision making is different than ones that are living in the lower self. So I'm throwing a little side info to kind of help you get the concept of the hermit. The hermit, and once you read the 7 Hermetic Principles, it's going to be even more clear of what I'm saying, right? Brother Rashad, Islam.
Islam family.
Islam, more.
Who else can? That was, okay. So again, the hermit disappeared. The people strove to follow him, but he had drawn a veil about his form, and men could see him not. Jewish feast day came. Jerusalem was filled with Jews and proselytes from every part of Palestine. And John stood in the temple court and said, prepare, O Israel. Prepare, O Israel. Prepare to meet your king. So you have lived in sin. The poor cry in your streets, and you regard them not. Your neighbors, who are they? You have defrauded friends and foes alike. You worship Allah with voice and lip. Your heart are far away and set on gold. Right? So it's back to, somebody can say something, but what are the actions? What are, as months and years go by, what are the actions of this person? And that goes back to what we read earlier when we popped the meeting off. If we're saying we're Moors, that means our mentality our aspirations in life, pecking order on what's important. And when you go back to uplifting acts, what that really means. It's like, for one, you got your fez and turban on in the public. You out and about, which is a whole nother measure. You ain't even got to say nothing, just the magnetism you're going to get. But now once you start opening your mouth and engaging, your whole thing is upliftment acts. You want to put our people on, give them the light. If they're ready to receive, you never know until after you give them the light how they're going to respond. But you still want to plant this. Your duty is to plant the seed in the first place, in a way that you're not emotional, in a way that you even kill, so you're not offending them, etc. Those actions, after months and months go by, it's gonna lay a foundation. Your world's gonna change. Your priests have bound upon the people burden far too great to bear. They live in ease upon the hard-earned wages of the poor. Your lawyers, doctors are useless, cumbers of the ground. They are not, they are but tumors on the body of the state. They toil not, or they work not. Neither do they spin, yet they consume the profits of your marts of trade. Your rulers are adulterers, extortioners, and thieves, regarding not the right of any man. And the robbers ply their calling in the sacred hills. The holy temple you have sold to thieves. Their dens are in the sacred places set apart for prayer. Hear, hear, the people of Jerusalem, reform. Turn from your evil ways, or Allah will turn from you. And heathen from far away will come, and what is left of all your honor and your fame will pass in one short hour. Prepare, Jerusalem, prepare to meet your king. He said no more. He left the court, and no one saw him go. The priests, the doctors, the scribes were all enraged. They sought for John, intent to do him harm. They found him not. The common people stood in his defense. They said, the hermit speaks the truth. And then the priests, the doctors, and the scribes were sore afraid. They said no more. They hid themselves away. So the hermit, the person with the divine faculties of what really matters, as far as your conduct, as far as how you moving with, your people, you're a humanitarian. When you pushing these concepts in the general masses, and you have a track record of that, is no one that could say anything to try to tear what you're doing down, because they're gonna look at, okay, they're gonna weigh it out, like, okay, he in the field, his actions are being consistent on, like I say, uniting the people, doing uplifting acts, etc. So that's why in this example, in this chapter of the Quran, the general people said the hermit speaks the truth. Right? They came to that conclusion. Any questions on chapter 14 of the Holy Quran for our transition?
I had a question. Okay, so when you said that hermetic, right? You said, I was trying to look it up at the same time so I could go side by side. But you said, what is it called again? So I could look it up, because I see hermetic seal.
Can you see the screen? Is it still sharing the screen? Can you still see my screen? What does it say? Do you see these 7 principles right here?
Okay, 7 principles. Okay.
Is my screen showing that, or is it still showing the Quran?
I see the screen like you're on another page.
Okay, so the 7 hermetic principles upon which the entire hermetic philosophy is based are as follows. The first principle is mentalism. The second principle is correspondence. The third principle is vibration. The fourth principle is polarity. The fifth principle is rhythm. The sixth principle is cause and effect. The seventh principle is gender. Now, it's a book called The Kabbalion that will go into this in more detail. In fact, let me see. Okay, this is like this one. kind of going a little bit. Right. So, okay. So the first principle, all is mind. The universe is mental. When we speak in vibration, we're saying nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. When we saying the principle of correspondence, we're saying as above, so below. As within, so without. As without, so within. Principle of polarity, we're saying everything is dual and has poles or opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but difference in degree. So, right, opposites attract, right? And polarity, we got negative and positive, male, female. The principle of rhythm, everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. And then the principle of gender. Gender is in everything, masculine and feminine. So I was going to put one down. But yeah, get a book called Kabbalion. And it also gonna go into that as well. All right, so I'm gonna go into.
Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. Go into a piece called "She Redeems" by the Empress Rosmariah Bey. So as you can see, we're looking at Hermetic principle right here. Can you see the screen where it says she redeems? Is it transition or is it still on the seven Hermetic?
Yeah, I can see it. The womb of the man.
Okay. So this is an expression as above, so below. You have this triangle or pyramid upright. Then you got the triangle pyramid reversed, but it's overlapping. This represents one of the principles I just showed you. As above, so below. And that makes the star.
Okay.
So I wanted to add that. It also represents physical and spiritual. It could potentially represent male and female. So when you're looking at that, you're looking at an expression of the Hermetic principles. All right. Women are the first nurturers. Hold on 1 second. Oh, that's looking crazy, but okay. Yeah, my screen's tripping. Okay, here we go. I'm tripping. I gotta let him in. I was wondering why I say 6, but it's 5. I had to let him in. Anywho, so women are the first nurturers, producing and raising both male and female, who are destined to govern society. A nation of people cannot rise higher than its women. Will the children rule the world? All individuals mortal and the destiny of the world, the ruling and the being ruled, is all in the hands of the children. Those who rule today were the children of yesterday and will be dust tomorrow. That is the law of human life. It means that a mother is the holiest thing alive, that history is made in the nursery, that the bringing up of children is the noblest, purest, and the most necessary work in the world, and the most difficult because the human being is so wonderful and complicated in nature of his mind and his body. I recognize through observance the experience that this will be a good time to write a booklet based on the responsibilities of woman, both spiritual and physical, in connection with the raising of children, particularly male children in the Western Hemisphere. The true and proper governing of men and women begins with the raising of children, as this, where governing of self and others is taught. Too often, women complain about men, yet they do not take into consideration that men are raised and influenced by women. Often they fail to see that the condition of the men is a direct result of the reflects the condition of the women and of her determinations of how societies are run, as she is the major influence. Think about this. Many women expect some other mother to raise a son or a daughter that is good enough for them, or for their daughters and sons to mate with without the knowledge that they have to collectively raise them to be good, productive, and responsible, possessing of principles and ethics. This certainly involves culture and cultivation. The womb is the first school. We are all taught through the womb, whether we are conscious of it or not. This is where the teachings begin. Therefore, by natural mandate and order, it is necessary for women to be aware and prepared to receive and impart innate knowledge to their sons in the womb. This is a true aspect of prenatal care. When you think of anything in the physical, you must think about its origin. Thought is the seed, origin of all matter. That's why the Quran lessons say thought is the seed of Allah. Before anything can be manifested in the physical plane, it takes root in the spiritual plane, utilizing the ethers and in rhythm with the ebb and flow energies of life. The rhythm of life. And when we say ebb and flow, back to the Hermetic principles. That was one of them, ebb and flow. All thoughts of things have an origin, an atom, the soul of matter. Matter is the element in the universe that foregoes the formation and alteration. B, the formless substratum of all things which exists only potentially, and upon which forms act to produce reality. Since women bring life into form from the spiritual to the physical, they need to be aware of what they are bringing in. Bringing in the souls. Souls are the seeds of the cosmic mother. That's interesting how that's put, actually. Very fascinating. The souls are the seeds of the cosmic mother. In order for a soul to enter the physical plane, it must take a physical form. That form is the body, which is built in the womb in the course of 9 months, from conception to birth. The body, or physical form, is the temple of the soul of man, or Solomon's temple. Solomon's temple is not spooky or mysterious, nor is it possessed of dogmatic pseudo-religion. However, due to a great lack of general knowledge, many have believed it is. From now on, when you hear Solomon's temple, know that it refers to your physical body, which houses the soul. When a woman is pregnant, her stomach, by way of the stretching of the uteral muscle, creates a perfect arc. This is the Ark of the Covenant. And that's, that phrase is mentioned in the Bible in a symbolic way, but we're getting to the root of what that expression means. The covenant is the agreement to bring the souls into physical form. Women have an awesome responsibility. When you hear talk of the grand architect that built Solomon's temple in the darkness with no tools and no sound, you now know, if you didn't before, that they are speaking of you, made and born of your mother, the grand architect. Loss of this simple knowledge is a result of an intervention or diversion visited upon the woman. This diversion happened on the surface, but created an altering of the mind on a deep unconscious level, which caused women, for the most part, to disconnect with their innate responsibilities, which are in harmony with nature, i.e., the development of beings. This is an obvious function for women and only women to recreate or reproduce. Only she does that. No one else, nothing else. She is the womb of the universe. All beings come to life through the womb, just as Yahshua did. The intervention diversion goes way back in history, and it repeats itself as it is perpetual. It will keep repeating itself unless and until we break the chain as a result of the diversion or intervention. She became a victim of herself, lost in her own duties and expecting of someone else, her sons, to do her job. She forgot that she was the matriarch and began looking outside of herself for God, wherein she adopted idol God worship. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, means to give the idol God worship of the Roman European back to them. What happened to the matriarch? The universe always has been and always will be matriarch by nature. We were forced into patriarch dogmatic society as a destructive product of intervention or diversion by way of the Crusades. The forceful purpose of the Crusades was to destroy the matriarch and introduce a patriarchal system, which took not too many generations to fulfill. They created, without a doubt, Christianity out of the political order of Christendom and forced a belief system, but of which you have a people tagged as believers today. Although belief is necessary to teach the initiates or the children, it is also very necessary that one graduates into knowledge of knowing. So belief is just the introductory level, as was stated right here, the initiate. And once again, speaking of the book Kabbalion that I referred to you, brother, when you grab that book, it's going to say, from the initiates. But an initiate is somebody that gets initiated into the space of divine information. And then you keep growing. You keep growing from that. And I wanted to speak on the matriarchal thing, male and feminine energy. When you speak of male energy, you're dealing with logic. You're dealing with reasoning. When you're dealing with feminine energy, you're dealing with intuition. More of a natural humanitarian, feeling, loving the person. You know what I mean?
But I have excuse me, I have a quick question. All right, so I thought the feminine was like was the intuition, and the masculine was like more of like the mind and etc. But it's considered the same thing or something?
I could have swore I just said that. Did I say something backwards? If I said it backwards, then like I said, I meant to say masculine energy is dealing with logic. Feminine energy is dealing with intuition.
Okay. I'm tripping. All right.
Maybe I said it backwards. I could have swore I just said it. But yeah, that's what it is. And that's where you get the whole left brain and right brain. The left brain, right, dealing with intuition, the right brain dealing with logic. So you're essentially saying one side of your brain is feminine energy and the other side is dealing with masculine. And the reason I'm bringing this up is you don't want to isolate either. Both are in play. When both are in play at the same time, now you're looking at stuff from a different lens compared to people that are looking at things from just, it needs to be this, or it needs to be strictly matriarch or strictly patriarchal. None of them are bad, but they need to work together to bring that balance, because you don't need to be just on go all the time and not have empathy, not have that intuition and that mother nature compassion with people. Or you're going to be looked at as just too cold and robotic. If you don't have the logical and you're just too, I just love everybody, now you could be looked at as being gullible. People are going to try to take advantage of you. and things of that nature. So both need to be in play for balance and discernment. The patriarchal system is out of order with nature and does not possess logic or common sense. Because it is out of order, it cannot and will not stand. This is why you are witnessing the fall of any and all institutions that support it or are supported by it. What you are witnessing is the fall of an unnatural order and the delusion of untruths. Truth and facts are colliding with belief and falsehood. With the advent or arrival, with the advent of a false belief system, suddenly matter appeared to be without order. In fact, if you look up the word matter under the Christian Science definition, which is found in the dictionary, it reads as follows: matter, the illusion that the objects perceived by the physical senses have reality of substance. The intervention and diversions of the matriarchal society started long ago, as far back as the Punic Wars, wars of the Phoenicians, which merged into the Christian Crusades, the battles of Tours or Poitiers, one of the most decisive world wars of Charles Martel, also known as Charles the Hammer, who was leading the Crusades. And once again, when you hear Phoenicians, just those as Moors. The foreigners called our people Phoenicians because we created phonetics. What are phonetics? Grammar, language. All right. The Moors created language systems, grammar systems. This led eventually to the Battle of Lake Michigan and the Spanish-American War fought on the North American soil. Then there was the French Revolution, which inspired the American Revolution. And out of the American Revolution came the Daughters of the American Revolution, called DAR, which most of us know is a Freemasonic order of modern European females. The DAR taught their sons from the womb to have a psychological superior position over your sons, over the world for that matter. Those daughters, mothers of the American Revolution, revolted against the society, as it were, and made sure their sons were taught in the womb and came out of the womb with the authoritative demeanor. Those sons founded the Ku Klux Klan, the Knights of Columbus, various Masonic orders, i.e. Tall Cedars of Lebanon, Shriners, etc. Lastly, there was the Civil War, one of the final nails in the coffin of the matriarchal society, or of natural living and natural people. Continued destruction of the matriarch. Further destruction of the psyche of the matriarch or the mother was when she witnessed the mutilation and murder of her babies, her sons, daughters, and her men. She was traumatized by the sight of the womb being cut open and babies dropping out to the ground. She was traumatized when they tied each limb of her man, her sons, to different horses and sent them off to different directions. That tactic was actually, what was that? What was we reading? The Willie Lynch. The Willie Lynch manual tactics. She she has always been a target. This is the basis of the modern psychological state of woman. She is still in shock, and while in that state, she was sold out. She has sold out herself and her babies to the very system that enslaves her and her babies. She must first be awakened and get back in touch with knowledge of self, so she may put things back in order, teach from the womb again, and redeem humanity. Islam, Brother Benjamin Bey.
Islam.
It is the woman who has fallen. However, Man has no other choice but to fall if she has. He diligently tried to take up the charge. He held ground fiercely with brute determination to carry out the quest of the mother. She and only she has the ability to bring and teach souls of a higher vibration. Of course, she must be in a higher consciousness herself first. Unfortunately, when she went to sleep, so did he. She stopped teaching him from the womb and sent him out into the world unequipped. Hence, a people cannot rise higher than its woman. The woman, where is she today? What is she doing? Women, the woman are the ones behind the scenes running the institutions, organizations, and associations. She makes all of them work: churches, hospitals, jails, synagogues, temples, schools, organizations, associations, offices, satellite offices, home offices, central offices, branch offices, etc. Without her support, these institutions would not run. If she has all of this power and she does not, why isn't she cognizant of her own womb power? Why isn't it clear to her that she produces the men and women of society? It is up to her how society is governed. Although she may not be conscious of this, governing principles are taught as children are being raised. Of course, by her failing to do so, she has become the complainer of the very thing she is ultimately in control of. Organizations are put in place to deal with the symptoms of her problem, but not the problem. The woman fund and or support those very organizations that are set up to keep her womb enslaved. If she had self-knowledge, she would not continue to support that which is enslaving her and her babies. By doing so, she works against herself. Some of these organizations may have good intention. However, as dictated in nature, no one raises children better than the mother who brought them here. Mothers have to be more responsible. We have an abundance of mothers who are bringing souls in and not being responsible. These souls have an agenda as well. All that lives wants to live. They come from the door with the struggle to free themselves from the constraints and the already set up institutionalized slavery system, which is designed to have them locked up for the most of their lives. If not by physical lockup, certainly mental. Certainly mentally. Parents must be aware of the conditions. They must be aware of the conditions they bring their children into and what they are passing on to their children. Most important, or most parents don't or want to educate their own children, mainly because children are looking for some facts, not beliefs. And the parents have not done enough studies on their own to pass correct information to their children. This type of activity is in great part responsible for the children becoming walking time bombs who take out their aggressions on society, as they are a product of the society, aren't they? Brother Benjamin Bey, Islam.
Islam is on, peace, Morris.
Islam. For those of us who blame their condition on slavery and oppression, but cannot put a finger on it, the fact is that slavery is now institutionalized. Upon that recognition, know that slaveholders are comfortable to see these conditions as it makes their stronghold stronger. So who was really subjugated? The parents or the children, or both? As the condition of the parent, especially the mother, perpetuates the condition of the children, and thus society. Yet, we talk about the condition of the children as if it is disconnected from us as a whole. When children are dying younger and younger, it is a sign of extinction. So that was a piece called She Redeems. And back to what we were speaking of in the beginning, when we're talking about uplifting acts, that Noble Drew Ali spoke of in his divine bylaws or divine constitution. It's a multiple things in play. We can say uplifting acts, and we can be scientific about how we approach uplifting acts when we're in the community. What I mean by that is being intellectually sound with the information in general, whether it be law, cosmology, letting it be known what ancient people conducted themselves in the past compared to how people are conducting themselves today, to lay the foundation of why we need to get back to light. Speaking with our women when we come across our unconscious women, letting them know what we just read and why it's important for them to know ancient civilization principles, because they are the guiders of humanity, and all, life comes through the womb. So they are the first teachers. Getting back to that space is going to change the ethers. And it's a volume game. Remember, we missionaries, we ambassadors. So don't look for advantageous or a reply such as, "Oh yeah, you're right. You might get shut down," or whatever. They might not be receptive, but that shouldn't matter, because we're in the business of this is what it is every day. It's a numbers game. Back to the industrious aspect. You might set up a business and day one, you might not get no traction, but you've been out there 10 days in a row, and that 9th and 10th day, you cleaning up. Everybody buying something from you because of your diligence, right? So, uplifting acts, make sure when we're not in these settings like this, when we just out and about, have that fez on, have that turban on, be prepared when people ask you questions. What's this about? Go into a measure, raise the consciousness of the people, produce literature, right? So you can have literature on deck for the people, But Brother Benjamin Bay, if you ready, man, you can go on. You got the floor.
Oh yeah. Okay, I got you.
Want me to share the screen or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you access to this. All right, you should have it.
All right. Share screen. Start broadcast. IBT. Everybody see the screen, or everyone? Can everyone see the screen?
Yep, I can see it.
IBT. All right. Well, I decided to do nationality and due process pertaining to law. Because last time we spoke together would be like Wednesday. We spoke a little bit. Brother Moffitt spoke about due process of law, so I figured out,
Damn, he kind of broken up. Is he frozen or is it just me?
you already know, but just
He kind of broken up a little bit.
Okay, you back now. You were frozen for a minute. We can hear you now.
Okay, for sure. But let me turn the Wi-Fi on. Yeah. All right. You go to all Negroes, Blacks, colored, African Americans, Black Americans. This is an emergency broadcast. When the Europeans enslaved our people, they took us out of the constitutional fold of government by stripping us of our names and branding and calling us Negro, Black, and colored. When they placed their names, there we go. When they place their names upon us, John, William, Jennifer, Michael, Smith, Jones, Johnson, etc., it indicates property. If you are conducting business with these names, any European family with this name can claim everything you have because you bought it in their name. There is no Black nation, no Negro nation, and no colored nation on this planet. Therefore, you have to nationalize in order to have standing in law. If you go into these courtrooms or tribunals with the names that don't belong to you and calling yourself something you are not, you're automatically considered Christian property, and they will rule against you rule against you, or stick a lawyer on you. Who is loyal? Who is loyal to them, so they can extract more money from you? If you claim your nationality and correct your name, you will see things differently. Get in law, be more. All right, all right. Right here, I have a picture of some scholars had defined denotation to establish meaning, and it comes out of the book of The Etymology and Vocabulary by Abdullah El Tamal Bey. And when I went over just the black just now, we was getting into the meaning of behind things, like the denotation of things. All right. So it says some scholars have defined denotation as established meaning. So denotation denotes like, something tangible, and connotative denotes something not tangible. But I put this here because it's a scholars, and scholars are people who deal with, just words in general. So it's not just more staying when you're speaking about, black is, this in law, if you're speaking from a scholarly standpoint. So Abdullah Bey went around the world or the continent and got, plenty of scholars to back him up. To further our claim of who we are. So right here it says, some scholars define denotation as established meaning. What does this definition mean? The denotation is derived from the Latin denotor. D means down, or notere, to mark. Denotation is the process of designating a word to an object, like I was just saying, established meaning to institute permanently. During the 9th century, the originally established meaning for the word slave is that of a national identity of a people of Slavic descent from Eastern Europe. The present day meaning, common understanding, ordinary meaning, claim meaning, or constructed meaning of slave has supplanted the original established and true meaning of slave. Thus, the linguistic scholars actually mean by the established meaning of a word as its present day meaning, common understanding, or ordinary meaning, or constructed meaning, and not its original established meaning or true meaning. Basically, we don't use black as denoting a pale. Well, unnationalized more than people who don't use etymology. They're just like, oh, those shoes are fire, but shoes are not actually fire. We don't use the word for its actual meaning, original meaning. We use it for its ordinary meaning. So ordinarily, you see some shoes that you like, you were like, oh, I really appreciate the look of those shoes. Although that sounds wild to say, I guess, to break it down like that, but you're like, oh, those are fire. Which is not bad, but sometimes we need to know how we're using words, because words construct, our reality. And especially when you deal with law, you want to know what you're talking about. You want to make sure you're using a nationality which denotes person and not color that denotes, nothing, or something that is similar to something tangible. All right, so another page out of the book right here goes, etymology reveals how the connotative meaning of words become the original public accepted established new meaning. So like we use fire again. So those shoes are fire. So I'm connotatively using fire for the like of the shoe. I'm like, oh, he's black, blah, blah, blah. That's connotatively using an adjective to identify human being. All right. So we go right here. Connotative meanings are placed in dictionaries, and over a period of time, the original meaning and applications of words are demorphized and eventually loses their true essence in the general public. Thus, since general populace is not taught the foundation of words, it is socialized into accepting connotative meanings as being the true, real, and original meanings. The students of etymology, in using the original meaning of words as their foundation, will be able to determine if a word has been given a true meaning. Giving a new meaning. The etymology of the word slave reveals that the new meaning interjected into the social fabric of society is far from its original and true meaning. The entry-level meaning of the word Slav or slave contradict its etymological meaning. The meaning displayed in the brackets. So what he's saying right here, when you open a dictionary, the first definition you see of a word is most likely wrong or connotatively used. So it'll be in brackets right here. So that's what he's displaying. The original meaning of the word dollar is completely different from that it's used by the general public. The true meaning of the word considered as an astronomical usage. So he's basically taking words and putting them in the proper form. So etymology helps you do that. You know, it's literally kind of like a puzzle piece for words. You know, kind of gives you the root of something so you can actually use it in the correct fashion. All right. So right here we have colorable, that which has given color, that which is an appearance only and not in reality, where its purpose to be counterfeit, feign, having the appearance of truth. So this is we'll say stare decisis. So we're coming out of law now and not a dictionary to show, you know, that how color is being used. You know, right here. I think I have to do it like this. There we go. We got some words in between. But all right. Here we go. Color of authority. The semblance or presumption of authority sustaining the acts of a public officer or policy enforcer, or that which is derived from his apparent title of the office. So, you know, officer, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, officer are sworn into office. You know, they go and sign up to do stuff just like me at Joe. You know, I just sell snacks and they just deprive people of their rights. Title of office from a writ or process in his hands apparently valid and regular. State versus Oates, 86 Wiz, 634, 57 Northwest, 296, 39 AM. State Representative 912. All right. Black according to science means death. The language of Black is said to be English, but it is not English because this isn't English that we're speaking. Black is falsely referred to as English because Moors were colonized by said English, and that was their national language. So we are speaking a dialect of English, but not necessarily English, which is important because purpose and meaning are found within the language. And I put that there just to let you know the tactics that the colonists take to dismantle us through language, you know, along with other things, you know, but putting emphasis on, you know, nationality and the due process part. A good tactic the colonists used to conquer us Moors by debasing us from natural language. So if we don't speak or understand the language, then the opportunity to recognize self and anything pertaining to self non-existent. So basically, if we don't know the words that we're saying, we're basically talking in circles. So etymology really helps you reveal what you're saying and make sure that you're saying something of value, so you can get something of value in return. Because when you're speaking of something dead, most likely you're going to get something that's not of value, or not of life in return. You know what I mean? Right here I have why did Allah send Jesus to the earth? To save the Israelites, correct? So right there, why did Allah send Noble Ali to the earth? To save the Moors. And I put that there because a prophet or anybody is sent to a people speaking a certain language. So when Allah sent Jesus to the earth, Jesus was speaking a certain language to a certain people. So he couldn't come there speaking, you know, we're gonna say Chinese to the Chinese people because he wasn't Chinese, he didn't look Chinese, so he couldn't speak Chinese. So I say that to say replace Jesus with Noble Ali. So when Noble Ali came, he gave us a certain language. He gave us certain words that we could look up, such as Black and other things. So when Noble Ali came to the earth, he came to the earth to save the Moors, a certain people to a certain nation. And he gave us a certain language to use and taught us how to use. All right. From a nationality perspective, the prophet said the people are identified by their national descent names. We have been taught to identify ourselves by things that are colorable, which do not denote anything that is descendable. These teachings from colonial schools have created questions such as, what is he? If someone doesn't know the origin of a person who looks mixed, what is he? Technically, the answer will always be human and not whatever the misnomer that is being used. But at the root, the person is asking, what is the identity of that human, she or he, which should always be that person's nationality. And as I'm creating this, I find this video where I'm looking at, things or whatever, and the conversation pops up. So AD goes like, "What are you?" Woo woo, and I was like, "Wow, that's kind of what I was going over." But at this time, I wasn't studying, so I have this clip here to explain, just an example of how the terms are used and how the colonial teachings have been used just on a daily, how it goes. So here we go.
You definitely didn't come out light skinned. You came out a whole other race.
What? Can you hear that?
Keep it honest. I fuck with you
man,
though.
What race did I come out?
Yeah.
I'm my own species.
Hey, what race would you say T is? I thought she was like Middle Eastern or something. Salvadorian. Yeah,
Jack,
something like
you
that.
knew I was black.
All right. So I'm not sure if everybody heard that or not, but he goes, what race is she? She mixed, and at the end, at some point, she says, "Oh, I'm my own species," which is kind of wild because that's what woman is. Woman is the species, so the human is the woman. So technically, she was right saying she's her own species. But AD asked, "What is she?" Well, that's a woman sitting next to you.
Hey, oh man,
Yeah.
I had to. Hey, hey, you dropping them jewels? You dropping them jewels? Hey, I apologize, man. Can you say that again? You said the woman is the species, and say it again.
I
I
said
apologize.
the woman.
You got me.
Oh no, you good. You good. I was saying, the woman is a species, such as something tangible, like woman denotes, a figure. So, through their conversation, they're just saying like, "Oh, what is she? What is her nationality?" But they're saying what's her nationality, but he's asking what is she? Because if you look at her, we'll just off the bat, she's mixed. But that's not what it is. She's a human. So it's like if I see a dog in the street, I'll be like, "Oh, what is it?" I already know that it's a dog. I'm gonna be like, "What type of dog is it?" But what I'm saying, what kind of nationality the dog is, Rottweiler, Pit Bull, boo. So as far as like a human goes, the species is woman, but we've been taught to look at it differently. We've been taught to look at woman as all the different shades of person she's made. So, but it's just woman. Like right now, I'm a human being. What am I? Oh, I'm a human. But what type of human? And what did I denote from? What is my nativity or my nationality? What woman did I come out of? Type deal. So, basically, hopefully I explained that. But woman is a species. So we have to learn not to be like, what is he or what is her? Like, what's that person's nationality? Instead of identifying a person by, what they look like.
Okay.
Instead of what people are. People are human that go by nationalities. Oh, you look purple. And all that.
I understand.
And right here, I have a picture of a prophet, the prophet. A prophet is sent to a specific land, a specific nation speaking their language, also in appearance looking like the people of the specific nation to serve, just as manifested. So this is getting into more of the process, due process of law. So due process of law is basically being heard, but for us to be heard, we got to know what we're saying. So we've given a language that, we basically don't know what we're saying to each other. We go to try to use it in a beneficial way. It's a wrap, for Catholic Scripts, for those who, represent Christmas. And right here, I have something off RV Bay Publications that furthermore denote something tangible, blood, not something that appearance of such as blood. So right here, you are a Moor by birth and by bloodline, not by membership or not. I'm not sure why that says that. That's too cool. All right. So it's basically saying we have received emails concerning regards people who say one cannot be a Moor unless they come through a temple as a member. But we know the temple that we come through is mother. So technically we all come through a temple, but the temple we come through is mother. As a member, we trust to put that the person put that to bed in one paragraph at its most absurd statement, which proves a desire to own slash or control others and prove the existence of mental slavery if another believes it and acts upon it as truth. You are a born Moor as a matter of bloodline, lineage, heritage, thus birthrights, not temple rights. Simple. Prophet Noble Ali himself was a Moor prior to establishing any temple. So such statements show and prove themselves if you would just get to thinking and studying, which really are the same thing in many ways. If these people are talking about an agreement made after he left the scene, then what would that be? And his instructions were clear for us all to live in peace and not be molested until they enforced the American National Constitution for nationals as anything new instructed, then they have not done what they have what was directed of them. Therefore, there is no need to make up anything new in effort to bring unity and peace. The agreement has already been made, which is the Constitution. Most of us know that most of the Moors, unfortunately and sadly, do not enforce the American National Constitution for nationals. They do not know the difference between a state's constitution, their membership, bylaws, constitution, and the national constitution. Until they get to knowing and acted upon that, anything else would be treason on their part. Even as a Moor, we recognize fraud, and so ought you. So basically, you come from a people, come from what your oppressor gave you, such as Negro, black, color, so on and so forth, because we talked about that in the 1920s. All right, I have a page out of like the city books from RB Bay Publications right here, and it says regard to nationality, because we get to the nationality part of it, and right here, when we study nationality and birthrights, one begins to understand that civilizations, laws, come from nations or mother. And if you see the eyes and the other stuff, it's just when I'm reading, I'm changing it to me when I'm reading it, so it kind of applies to me when I read it. So you can do it as well, but you kind of ignore the eyes. Or when you see it, apply to yourself. So I'm trying to make it personal whenever I'm reading something, whenever you see the eyes and the you. But I'm going to read you. And if you are not part of a nation, you don't come under national or international law. Therefore, you are not recognized by the nations of the earth, because the law deals with interchange between natural people across the planet. Always has been that way. And they, the nations, have governmental principles that are universal in their character. They're not unique to us necessarily. They are universal in their nature and their character. So when you deal with other nations, there are certain fundamental principles that are universal that they expect from you when they communicate with you. And if you don't display knowledge of them, then you are in violation of divine law, which is where government law is derived, and you are outside of the law or considered what's called an outlaw, of which the natural citizens of government can do whatever they want to you and get away with it. So right here, if you don't have a nationality, you don't get due process of law or be heard. So it's important to have a nationality or a jersey on to get the foul call. So I look at nationality like a jersey. So if you're hooping out there, woo woo, or just, hooping at the park or whatever, and if someone's operating outside of, the rule book and he take 3 steps and everybody else agreed that was 3 steps, but if he got the rule book and say, no, that's fine, he can go, you're never going to get the due process of law or be heard. You don't necessarily have the jacket to get the call or the jersey. You need to know the rules. So nationality gives you the rules to know how to be heard in law. Kind of like the basketball jersey gives you the due process to get the foul. I don't know if that was a good analogy, but try to make it less clear. And right here, I have a page out of Moors and Masonry, just to give an example of nationalities, And right here at the top, we have Article 15 of the 1948 United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. Everyone has a right to a nationality. Principle 3 of the United Nations Declaration of Rights of the Child. The child shall be entitled from his birth to a name and nationality. And we have examples of nationalities right there in the top. We have, of course, us, Moorish, and then a Moroccan and more right here. So there's no color here, just to give like a physical representation of, nationalities of Agabit land, and then the name of the people from the Agabit land. But we know a lot of those, but Morocco are corporate British companies on our Agabit land. When Noble Drew Ali mentions the Constitution, he refers to free Constitution, because the free indicates status. But if the nation isn't free, then the individual isn't free. So that we're free in the mind, but as far as like exercising our rights, we'll always be in conflict, because more than half of our people aren't, aren't civically minded. So they aren't under the status of free, or free white person. So if half of us, if one is locked down, we're all locked down. So if one isn't free, we're all not free. So until we start thinking free, collectively. And right here I'm going to read this middle paragraph of law right here. Law is a rule, an order, a pattern, a plan, or a system to which a phenomenon or actions coexist or follow each other. In a phrase, cause and effect. Law relates in sciences of observation or principles which are deducted from specific and particular facts. These facts being mathematical or scientific conclusions, cause and effect, and are put to words or statements which express those acquired facts. Effects or potentials for occurrences, if and when certain conditions are present. When we make references to law in the physical sciences, they are called natural law or nature's law, and in general are the notations or rules that are related to that which is divine. An example, astrology deals with the divine workings of nature and are expressed as the laws of nature. Thus, the philosophy of astrology deals with the laws of nature, which govern the cosmos / universe, affects mind / man, and the environment. So basically the circle 7, length, angle, and width. Moors must follow these laws, universal law the prophet brought back to us, to overturn the oppression of the mental slavery out on us by modern European colonists in the early 1700s. As prophet told us, his teachings are no different than the others that came before him. The use of universal law creates eternal harmony. Morocco is a nation state with a ruler no different than any other nation state. These ancient laws, like the prophet said, we have adopted into this American life. America is Morocco, but a modern version of it, concept-wise. So ignore that iron. So realistically, this is Morocco, and we know it to be Morocco. Means the laws and language pertaining to Morocco are to be incorporated, not like, incorporated as, the corporation kind of like, just make a part incorporated into the American consciousness or mind, what we have now, which is referred to as our nationality, Moorish American, because Moorish is our descent or ancient conception. American is the modern day conception. We have status is the first issue at law. So if the proclamation pertaining to the first issue at law isn't addressed, then there is no law or due process pertaining to law, which makes an individual an outlier. So if you don't have a nationality or knowledge of it, you are barred outside of the law or considered an outlaw. But the prophet brought back everything we needed to put us back in the constitutional code of that, so we can be heard, when our rights are, comforted upon. All right, here I have to the left, there are 3 issues at law to consider: status, jurisdiction, and venue, and adjudication. So according to your status, that creates the venue, and then how you will be adjudicated upon. Right here to the right, status is a measure of your legal rank and standing in society. This involves your capacities and incapacities to exercise and enjoy freedoms and liberties, etc. Therefore, law, venue, and jurisdiction are always primal issues to address. Question to to the authority of those who bring you into a location or court. Jurisdiction must be proven for the record and established before adjudication, action, and judgment. Status must be in full life. Briefly speaking about the municipal corporations and what backs their policy code of conduct or police code of conduct. If their state constitution is their state constitution, what backs the police codes is their state constitution, and what backs their state constitution is the national constitution. What backs the national constitution are the human rights laws, and I went over a couple of those earlier above in the More Than Racial book about the rights and dignity of a child, or the human rights of a child. The highest laws referred to, or what backs the national constitution are the human rights laws. The highest laws referred to as the human rights law. So the colonists strategically took Moors out of that pedigree pertaining to being human by replacing our human pedigree with Negro, Black, and color, which takes us Moors out of the right to any due process pertaining to law because we aren't looked upon as human, but as beasts. Due process pertaining to law in each particular case means such an exercise of powers of the government as settled maxims and law permit and sanction, and under such safeguards for the protection of the individual rights as those maxims prescribe for the class of cases to which the one is in question. And I have that in parentheses, the one is in question belongs. Cooley, Consta, Lyra 441. The Roman soldiers identify Moors as the one in question. So right above here, at the bottom where I have the one in question. So your due process of law is the one. When it comes to due process of law, the Roman soldiers identify us as we are the one in question for the subject. Whenever the Roman soldiers are speaking to an individual in question, he or she is referred to as a subject. Example would be an unlawful traffic stop, and on the ticket they have you as the subject or the one in question, as in the definition of due process of law. So in the definition of due process of law, you have the one in question, and there will always be the subject matter. When Moors affirm to a magistrate in a tribunal that they lack jurisdiction, which really means that the tribunal lacks jurisdiction over the one in question. If the tribunal lacks the jurisdiction, the case must be dismissed or reversed on grounds of want or lack of jurisdiction, which is process pertaining to law. So if they don't have jurisdiction of the one in question or the more of the subject, then they don't have the jurisdiction to speak of it or anything that pertains to you. So it's persona jurisdiction, venue, all of that. So they can't even, it creates another way to them even questioning you or not questioning you. So just having like your attire on, like I said earlier, your fez or your turban, that's due process of law because they have to think about the one in question. Do I have jurisdiction to speak to the one in question that I want to question, whether that be a Moor, Manchurian, or whomever that feel like I want to, violate their rights. No magistrate can hear or decide on any case if they don't have subject matter jurisdiction or the one in question. Whenever we speak about the one in question, identity is the first issue pertaining to the one in question, which goes into status, which is the first issue at law. Identity and class of the natural person in question. When dealing with law, one is dealing with classes of law, like classes of citizenship, and according to the class of citizenship determines their status at law, which means how one is even being questioned. So like I was saying, so depending on your status is how you will be questioned. So it's like, depending on your status, they're going to put you in this jurisdiction and speak to you this way, or in this venue and adjudicate on you this way without your say, or your say, depending on your status or your class of status. And that depends on what class of law you get. Do you get actual de jure law or do you get color law? Depending on your status and hopefully your national status. And I have a picture of here of some of the example of status or types of citizenship or classes. So it's like who are the nationals?
Hey, excuse me.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a question. Okay, so this right here, what you're talking about, that's these are the statuses, am I correct?
Yeah, nationality is a statuses. Like our
Okay.
status, Moorish American. What's that? Yeah. But right here, I'm going to get into the statuses right here, or citizenship, which put you into a type of status. That's that question, right?
Let's see.
All right. Who are the nationals, the sovereigns? There are 4 types of citizenship. The first one, national, the highest rank of citizenship, the natural people of the land, Moors, the Aboriginal and indigenous people, citizen, the naturalized citizen, not naturalized, subject, or the one in question. This is where corporations rest, including corporate persons, Negro, colored, Black, etc. 4, alien, the foreigner who remains as such and is clothed with certain rights of citizenship as the citizen and the subject, and they can be unclothed rights versus privileges. So it's like 14th Amendment versus the Constitution for the United States of America. Due process of law implies the right of the person affected thereby to be present before a tribunal, which pronounces judgment questions upon life, liberty, or property. In its most comprehensive sense, to be heard by testimony or otherwise, to have the right of proving every material fact which bears on the question of right in the manner involved. If any question or fact of liability be conclusively presumed against him or her, this is not due process pertaining to law. The essential elements pertaining to the process of law are notice and opportunity to be heard and to defend in orderly proceedings, adapting to the nature of the case, and a guarantee pertaining to process pertaining to law requires that every man have protection of date in court and benefit of general law, a law which hears before, condemns, which proceeds on inquiry, and renders judgments only after trial. According to the Constitution, every natural being is entitled to their day in court. The Constitution backs that in all criminal cases that a trial by jury is guaranteed to the individual. Without an indictment or denial of indictment means failure to prosecute and also failure to have your day in court. To deny someone an indictment is denying someone due process pertaining to law, i.e. their day in court. Moors harmed by other citizens are not entitled to due process pertaining to law because we're not of the right class according to the class that the branded Moors were in, that class does not require the Constitution to give them an indictment because Negro, Black, colored are not protected under the organic Constitution, but under the 14th Amendment privilege. So basically, if you don't have a nationality, you can be molested. You don't have to be heard. They don't have laws to pertain to hear you. But if you go in there with an intelligent tone and your nationality, then your outcome could be favorable. Or enforce the Constitution. So right here, I have out of the Moorish Constitution, Article 4. Is that 5?
Six.
6. I was close.
Okay.
This one and only universal moral law for unity, peace, and economic social progress. So I look at, the Moorish Constitution as our due process of law or our way to be heard, So each article in here is a tangible way for us to have proper footing to, have intelligent things to say, to basically have peace amongst ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna turn this up. There you go. The Morse Zodiac Constitution is the only universal, unchanged moral law for the human family that constitutes unity, human equality, respect, peace, and economic and social progress. Therefore, every Moor must be guided by their constitution and book, clock, and destiny, and act on what is right by good and faithful reason, and have respect for all people. The Asiatics of North America Moors are descendants of ancient Canaanites, Moabites, Hamathites, Fishites, Shemites, Hephites, Chaldeans, and Magi's of Egypt, etc. The free Moors are guided by the laws of the universe. So he's basically giving us, titles so we can go along and have due process of law, so we can be heard and not going as colored people. So he's going back into ancient times, pulling us ancient things so we can, have things now. So going back and get the tangible things, bringing them here, and not just, keep getting the untangible things that, ours and the colonists are giving us. The European American is guided by the Magna Carta, traditions and customs, which is termed Christian law, and a rule of action recorded on paper, and supported by their authority by man and force. So the Europeans are guided by paper and a whip, and we're guided by, the heavens. I put it that way because, basically like we are guided by a divinity, and we can use the sun and moon, and they have to go by what they've been told for thousands of years, but we can't argue with the sky, but you can argue with your brother. You know what I mean? The laws of the original nation are recorded in nature as knowledge of the sun, seven moons, stars, and comets, which you can't argue with, which prevents Moors from indulging in crime, whereby not having to appear for European court. So by, us not going by divine law, we have to go by means of taking from one another, basically sub-genocide, so, and that leads to going into these tribunals, having to get fiat, being captured for so-and-so years, for not following our due process of law to be heard. Free Moors do not indulge in criminal acts such as cocaine, they got you like the 80s, robbery, violence, sodomy, deadly force, forgery, prostitution, illegal schemes, or breaking peace in any form. The zodiac law of nature is recorded in wisdom of woman, man, and supported by moral intelligence. The greatest law, knowledge of zodiac masonry, is shown in this Moorish constitution, and in the Clock of Destiny, volumes 1 and 2, will prevent crime. Should a knowledgeable Moorish American of the Zodiac Constitution and the Clock of Destiny commit crime, such acts constitute self-incrimination and will therefore be penalized under Moorish law, which does not protect criminals. And right here we have, a couple of declarations. Everyone has a right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. Everyone has the right to leave any county, any country, including his own, and return to his country. United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So this is a due process to be heard, or the highest law pertaining to humans. This is uplifting fallen humanity. So this is another tool for the upliftment for fallen humanity, and a proper way to be heard in law, and not some 14th Amendment practice. All right. So, we get a good look at those, and we're going to stroll along here. Is that it? No, that's not it. All right, yeah, we got another one. All right. Same thing. The Clock of Destiny, Moorish American card of Identification Constitution have been registered in the Library of Congress and signed by the authors C.M. Bay, H. Coley L., A.M. Bay, William Spearman Bay, and Leslie Farrell Bay, who are the only 4 Moorish Americans whom are authorized and solicitors by the author C.M. Bay. So once again, this is another due process of law, or a way to be heard in law through our nationality cards. And not only, you have a nationality, you have a preface when you come in contact, with a Roman out there, so you'll have a proper way or proper footing to speak and not speaking on a false platform such as 14th Amendment, which takes away your due process of law or the way to be heard. The card and Constitution must be signed by the author. Beware of forgery or imposters. A Moorish American cannot be convicted on false accusations, frame of charges. The evidence against a Moorish American must be concrete proof, kind of like denotation, not connotation. We have to be, charged on something tangible and not something they're making up for their behalf, which happens on a daily. Beyond proof, beyond the shadow of a doubt. The Moorish nation of 150 million, that's not it, 60 or 150 million of the U.S. house shall not be destroyed for lack of truth and lack of knowledge of the law and the Constitution of the Moors. All right, here, Article 7 was last time. My brother said Article 6, so this is Article 7. The Moorish American freedom and legal rights in the Christian Union Court. So once again, we go back to the word free because the prophets had the free constitution. People are recognized with a free national title. So when you go in here, you want to speak as you, not something that they give you for their benefit. The Christian Union Court, the Moors cannot be forced to remove their red fez from their heads, nor can they be forced to raise their hand and take an oath over the Christian Bible. Neither can the Moors, the Bays, and the L's employ lawyers to represent them. So because that takes away your due process of law or your way to be heard. So that's a false way to be heard. So you think you're being heard, but they're shushing you. Because one, if they're speaking for you, then you say you can't speak for yourself. You don't know law, and therefore you are not in exercising of being a Moor, because you are a Moor, but not in exercise because you don't know of yourself. And if you know of yourself, then you know of law, then anger will, and no one can, speak for you. The reason for this is that lawyers cannot represent free Moorish Americans. But the Negro is the property, so that can, Negro as in status. So we know what the Negro is, but right now we're speaking, in a civic mindset. So in a Negro capacity, it's property, kind of like a dog. A dog can only roof. They can't tell you, hey, my man, I'm kind of hungry and all that. Well, some can, but they can only roof. So they don't really have process of law unless they poop on the floor. But the Negro is the property of the Union slaveholders. The Moors must respect the court by saying, I affirm here the court has no jurisdiction or the right to speak for the one in question. So right now we go back to the definition of the due process of law, and the one in question would be the Moor or the subject, but they don't have this jurisdiction of the speaking matter of a Moor. They can't question the Moor, because while we're standing on the actual Constitution and not participating in, slave trade. Jurisdiction over them, which automatically makes them qualified to defend themselves by the Zodiac Constitution law, and their mathematical number 9 corresponds with the letter I. Based on the 9 months from conception to birth, it makes you yourself the great I am, the first and the highest law of self-protection and self-preservation in harmony with Zodiac 12 signs, unchanged Constitution, moral law of 360 degrees square by number 9. Yeah, yeah. All right. Is that no? You good? All right. And right here, I went into Moors and Masonry, and basically in the 1700s, Muslim Jews or Moroccan Jews were being basically, treated like, I would say like Moors now. And so the emperor sent a due process of law away for those Moroccans and Moors to be heard over there. So this treaty is basically, in my opinion, an example of a way for those Moors to be heard over there, to get justice or proper footing. So right here we have the Treaty of Peace and Commerce between Great Britain and Morocco, signed at Fez, 23rd January 1721. The position of the Moroccan Jews community within the Anglo-Saxon Moroccan diplomatic relations from 1480 to 1886. Oh, look at that. Answer Praga. A presentation made by Mohammed Bel Mahi, KCFO, former Moroccan ambassador to London, 1999, 2009. So I'm assuming this is from the book, 1999 to 2009, because I'm sure this didn't happen in that time frame. But upon the invitation of the Rotary Club of London on Monday, May 11th, 2015. All right. And this is what I wanted to get at right here. The unfair treatment of Moroccan Jews was supposed by Sultan Mullah Ismail, who in 1725 appointed Ambassador Muhammad bin Ali Abd Ali to the court of George I, entrusting him the specific mission of demanding just treatment or due process of law, a way to be heard for the Moroccan Jews or Moors. So you can look at the ambassador as Noble Drew Ali. You know, Allah sending Noble Drew Ali here with, you know, the Constitution of Circle 7 or due process of law for us, to, you know, to be treated fairly, to be treated justly. So throughout the time, history, everyone just want to be treated justly. And there have been, you know, several documents for people or human beings to be treated justly. Whether that happened or not, you know, that's on the hearts of the being. King George I, entrusting him with specific mission of demanding just treatment of the Moroccan Jews who used to live and trade in Gibraltar. The ambassador defense of Moroccan Jews was facilitated by the existence of the Anglo-Moroccan Treaty of Peace and Commerce signed in Fez on 23rd January 1721. So you can look at this peace and commerce treaty as a constitution to enforce. So the Constitution is our due process of law or our way to be heard when we're doing business on the land. So while the Moroccan Jews were doing business, you know, within the Anglo-Saxons jurisdiction, because we know that was, you know, Moorish town we was running that. And so while being there as a Moroccan Jew, you want to be heard just like everybody else. You want to, you know, be using the Anglo-Saxon law because 9 times out of 10, that's going to benefit them. So it's like, no, while my people are over there, this is how they will be treated. This is how they will be heard. This is how they will have proper footing, you know, for their life, liberty, and their property to perpetuate life for their children. You know? And that's basically that is the end of my presentation, you know, as far as nationality and due process of law. So overall, having a nationality is the doorway to due process of law. Anything else, you know, it's cancel Christmas. Yeah, that's you for sure.
That's not good. Good presentation, Brother Taj, you got something? Brother Fruitful? Brother, I forgot his other name, man. Terry, Brother Terry.
Yes, indeed.
You got some jewels out of there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a lot of jewels, and I screenshot it so I can, you know, study as well. You know, so yeah, man. Thank you all,
yeah.
man.
Thank y'all for being patient. I'm trying to, you know, get better at this whole presentation thing, but
I think you're done well, man. I think you're done well for a presentation, man. You were dropping them like a grenade. You was dropping the jewels like a grenade, boy. You weren't playing around.
Preach.
But yeah, man, that was good, man. Get that on the record. And
I don't know if I could send it. I'm not sure how to send it. I'll probably send it to you in DM if you want to like screenshot certain things or whatever, but I wouldn't know how to like.
Yeah. No, I recorded
That's in the chat.
I recorded it too, so it'll be on the YouTube. I'll just blast it out.
Oh, it's on there.
Yeah. Islam. Let me you got any questions, Brother Terry or Mutazamaji?
Not at this moment. It was a lot, so I'm just letting it marinate for a little while. If I have any questions, I'll definitely you know, try to contact you know, either or.
Okay. All right, man. Well, close out in prayer. And once again, this will be on the record, so you know you can go on to YouTube and rewind it as well. And yeah, keep just sharpening your tools, man. All right, man. Close out. Close out in prayer, man. Father, right? Allah is the Father of the universe, the Father of love, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen.
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 Islam.
Amen.
All right, Salam, boy. I'll see y'all Wednesday. And, y'all have a beautiful rest of y'all day, man. Islam.
Islam,
Islam.
Islam.